Welcome, dear friends, to the heart of Berlin, in a city where every stone breathes history, where past and present intertwine, and the future is taking shape right before our eyes. Today, we invite you to join us on a fascinating journey through the streets and squares that have witnessed joy and sorrow, greatness and downfall, and yet have always remained a symbol of indomitable spirit. We begin our journey at Alexanderplatz, once a bustling marketplace, today the vibrant heart of modern Berlin. From here, we lift our gaze to the sky, to the famous TV tower, which watches over the city like a beacon and bears witness to its progress and development. Next, we dive into the depths of the centuries. We touch the ancient walls of St. Mary's Church and admire the mythical beauty of the Neptune Fountain. We see the proud Red City Hall, which holds within its walls the stories of the Berlin City Council and many momentous decisions.
But our journey would not be complete without a stroll through the historic Nikolai Quarter, the very place where Berlin was born, where one can truly feel its soul and imagine how people lived here hundreds of years ago. And of course, we cannot pass by what changed Berlin, and the entire world, forever, the East Side Gallery, the Berlin Wall Gallery. Here, we stand face to face with one of the most powerful symbols of division and reunification, with artworks that cry out for freedom and hope. Prepare yourselves, this city will touch the deepest strings of your soul. It will make you reflect, and leave you in awe. Because Berlin is not just a collection of buildings and streets, Berlin is a living organism, telling its own unique story.
Our starting point today is Alexanderplatz, one of Berlin's major transportation hubs. Alexanderplatz is easily accessible by various forms of public transport. At the Alexanderplatz S-Bahn station, the S-Bahn lines S3, S5, S7, and S9 stop. The Alexanderplatz U-Bahn station is served by underground lines U2, U5, and U8. The following tram lines pass through Alexanderplatz: M2, M4, M5, and M6. During the day, several bus lines also operate here: 100, 200, 248, and 300, along with additional night bus lines after hours.
Alexanderplatz station divides the square into two parts. On the northeastern side lies the actual Alexanderplatz, while on the southwestern side stands the famous TV tower. The area behind the TV tower, opposite the Red City Hall, is no longer considered part of Alexanderplatz. It is called the Park at the TV tower, Park am Fernsehturm.
Alexanderplatz station is a true witness to Berlin's history. It has seen the German Empire, the vibrant 1920s, the destruction of World War II, the divided Berlin, and its reunification. The impressive platform hall made of steel and glass was built in 1882, based on the plans of architect Johann Jakobsthal. In 1926, the original roof was replaced with a larger one, like a change of scenery on a grand theater stage. During World War II, large parts of the station were destroyed by bombs, yet by November 1945, the first S-Bahn train was already running again. By 1951, the station had risen from the ashes like a phoenix. Alexanderplatz station is a world of its own. Below, in the labyrinth of tunnels, U-Bahn trains rush through the city. Above, on the viaduct, the S-Bahn glides along, offering passengers breathtaking views of Berlin, including the iconic TV tower.
Alexanderplatz, or simply Alex, is one of the most well-known and busiest squares in Berlin. Its history stretches back many centuries and reflects the turbulent events that have shaped the city. Originally, the area where Alexanderplatz now lies was located outside the Berlin city walls. In the 13th century, there was a small urban market here called the Ochsenmarkt, Ox Market, where livestock and goods were sold. By the early 18th century, the square was already surrounded by numerous houses and was officially called Königstorplatz, King's Gate Square. With the rise of industrialization in Berlin, More and more workshops and manufactories sprang up around the square. In 1805, King Frederick William III of Prussia renamed the square Alexanderplatz in honor of a visit by Russian Tsar Alexander I. By 1848, the square had become an important transport hub and was also the scene of street fighting during the March Revolution. At the beginning of the 20th century, Alexanderplatz saw a construction boom, with new office buildings, department stores, and hotels. However, during World War II, the square was almost completely destroyed by bombing raids.
After the division of Berlin, Alexanderplatz was located in East Berlin, GDR, and became a central element of socialist urban planning. In the 1960s, the square was significantly expanded and redesigned to serve as a showcase of socialist architecture. Many of the distinctive buildings that still shape the square today were constructed during this time. Alexanderplatz became the stage for major demonstrations, including the peaceful protests on November 4, 1989, which played a crucial role in the fall of the Berlin Wall. After reunification, new residential and commercial buildings were developed at Alex, allowing it to continue evolving as a vibrant city center.
The Fountain of Friendship Between Peoples, Brunnen der Völkerfreundschaft, inaugurated in 1970, was created by a group of artists led by Walter Wumeke. Designed in the style of socialist modernism, the fountain stands 6.2 meters tall and has a diameter of 23 meters. It consists of a smaller upper basin and a larger lower basin. The upper basin features 17 bowl-shaped leaves mounted on columns, spiraling downwards in a dynamic form. The fountain is located in front of the Galeria Kaufhof shopping center. Galeria Kaufhof is the former Centrum department store, built between 1967 and 1970. It is one of the largest department stores on the square and offers a wide range of goods.
The world clock, Weltzeiter, was installed in 1969 and was designed by Eric John. This 10-meter-high clock, symbolically representing the universe, displays the current time in 146 cities around the world. It quickly became a popular meeting point and one of the iconic landmarks of the GDR era.
The Berlin TV Tower, Berliner Fernsehturm, located just next to Alexanderplatz, is inseparably linked to it in the minds of Berliners. Built in 1969, it stands at 368 meters, making it the tallest structure in Germany and one of Berlin's most iconic landmarks. From its observation deck at a height of 203 meters, visitors enjoy breathtaking panoramic views of the city. Above it sits the revolving restaurant sphere, offering a unique dining experience high above Berlin.
St. Mary's Church, an evangelical Lutheran parish, is the oldest still functioning house of worship in Berlin. Its architectural style is predominantly Gothic, with later Baroque elements. The church's history as an independent parish spans over 7 centuries, with its first documented mention dating back to 1292. It was built in a form common in Germany at the time, a hall church, where the central nave and side aisles are of equal height. Its walls were constructed from bright red brick, characteristic of the brick Gothic style typical of Brandenburg during that era. In the 17th century, a devastating fire severely damaged the church, necessitating a complete reconstruction. The tower was rebuilt with a Baroque appearance, based on a design by architect Michael Matthias Smids. In the 18th century, the tower underwent another transformation, this time into a neo-Gothic style, redesigned by the renowned Prussian architect Karl Gotthard Langhans.
At the end of the 19th century, St. Mary's Church underwent extensive restoration under the direction of architect Hermann Blankenstein. Following World War II, another major reconstruction was necessary to repair the damage. The interior of the church is neither overly ornate nor strictly austere. Instead, it features numerous artistic decorations, and many valuable works of art were transferred here from the nearby Nikolai Church after that church was taken into state ownership in the late 1930s. All of this contributes to the church's high number of visitors and makes it a popular destination for those exploring Berlin.
The interior of St. Mary's Church exudes a sense of calm, austerity, and light. Despite its relatively modest design compared to Catholic churches, the atmosphere is one of grandeur and deep historical presence. The building is a three-aisled hall church. The central nave is structured by octagonal pillars arranged in groups, with unadorned capitals. It is spanned by a combination of ribbed and net vaults. This simplicity emphasizes the spiritual focus typical of Lutheran worship. The bright ribbed vaults, supported by stone ribs and Gothic-style capitals, convey a feeling of lightness and an upward movement toward the heavens. Massive benches made of dark brown, carved wood, along with altar pillars in the same tone and several darker sculptural elements, form a strong contrast with the luminous background, creating a solemn and powerful impression.
The main altar was created around 1762 by Andreas Kruger in the Baroque style. With its monumental dimensions, it clearly separates the polygonal chancel from the rest of the choir area. The altar is adorned with 3 paintings by Bernhard Rode, framed by composite columns. On the left is a depiction of Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. On the right, the scene where Thomas places his finger into Christ's side wound. Above the central image of the descent from the cross rises a sculptural gable featuring the reclining Redeemer, leaning on his cross and flanked by 2 angels.
The church's pulpit, crafted in the early 18th century after a design by Andreas Schluter, is remarkable for its splendor and artistic detail. It faces all the pews in the nave and stands out as an exceptional work of art history. The pulpit appears to float between 2 angels and rests on 4 marble columns with gilded Ionic capitals, which interrupt the original Gothic clustered pillars. Between these columns, the preacher ascends to the pulpit. The sounding board, shaped like a canopy, is adorned with a radiant halo and surrounded by numerous trumpet-blowing angels honoring the Holy Scriptures.
St. Mary's Church is especially cherished by true lovers of history, architecture, and music. It was here that none other than the renowned composer Johann Sebastian Bach once played his works on the church's former organ, the richly gilded silver organ. Originally built by organ maker Johann Wagner in the 18th century, the instrument's magnificent sound and solemn music left no listener unmoved. The current organ was built in 2002 by the organ workshop Alfred Kern Sohn in Strasbourg. It is based on Wagner's tonal concept and the specification plans he created in 1721. This instrument was designed as a universal organ, suitable for the authentic performance of early music as well as for contemporary compositions.
In the tower room of St. Mary's Church is the famous Dance of Death fresco, dated to around 1484. It is a rare surviving example of medieval moralistic painting, a scene in which death dances with representatives of all social classes, from emperor to peasant. The fresco symbolizes the inevitability of death and serves as a reminder of the equality of all people before God. Its imagery points to a time when a devastating plague epidemic reached Berlin and struck the city hard. However, the original painting is now so faded that its details and colors are no longer clearly visible. Instead, visitors engage with the subject through a reproduction of the fresco accompanied by explanatory texts, which are displayed right next to the original.
Among the notable features of St. Mary's Church are also monuments and tombs of prominent historical figures. As we can see, the church brings together a wide variety of architectural styles, not to mention the spirit of centuries past that it continues to embody. All of this gives the church its unique and extraordinary character, explaining its enduring popularity to this day.
Before World War II, St. Mary's Church stood at the center of the densely populated Marienkirche in Berlin's Mitte district and was regularly used as a parish church. Not far from the church entrance stands an impressive statue of Martin Luther. Martin Luther, 1483 to 1546, was a German monk, theologian, and a key figure in church history. His actions initiated the Reformation, a movement that led to the split of the Western Church and the rise of Protestantism. Luther's core teachings were, humanity is justified by faith alone, not by deeds or church rituals. The sole source of religious truth is the Bible, not church tradition or the Pope. Every Christian has direct access to God without the need for priestly mediation. Luther translated the Bible from ancient Greek and Hebrew into German, making the Holy Scriptures accessible and understandable to the general population. He was a historical figure whose influence reshaped the religious landscape of Europe, gave rise to numerous Protestant denominations, and significantly contributed to the development of freedom of conscience, individual rights, and the idea of a civil society.
The sculpture was originally created in 1895 as part of a large Reformation monument. The artists behind it were Paul Martin Otto and Robert Tobrentz. The monument was part of an ensemble of several figures placed on a granite pedestal in the center of the Neuer Market in the Marienkirche. During World War II, the other figures were melted down for war purposes, and the pedestal was destroyed in a bombing raid. The Luther statue itself survived the war unscathed and was stored in the Tower Gallery of St. Mary's Church. In October 1989, just weeks before the fall of the Berlin Wall, it was finally returned to its original location. The statue depicts Luther in a monk's robe with a flowing cloak. In his left hand, he holds a large Bible, with his right hand resting upon it, a powerful symbol of his vital role in translating the Holy Scriptures into German. The sculpture stands 3.5 meters tall and is crafted in a neo-Baroque, realistic style, emphasizing both the political and cultural significance of the Reformer.
The Luther sculpture depicts him in a stance of unwavering determination, holding the open Bible in his hand, with a tense and focused expression. It conveys a powerful sense of greatness and historical weight, as if standing before a man who rose against the world and remained true to his inner convictions. His gaze is serious, almost challenging, as if to say, truth stands above fear. The open Bible in his hand symbolizes his groundbreaking translation and his mission to make faith accessible to all people. This gesture evokes deep respect for knowledge, for freedom of thought, and for the right to seek truth. One feels as though they are standing before the architect of spiritual freedom. For some, it may even spark a personal connection. Luther is not portrayed as an idealized hero, but as a human being who knew doubt and fear, and yet chose to follow the voice of conscience. His image encourages honesty, the development of inner strength, and the courage to go against the tide. The monument speaks without words, but with immense force. Have the courage to be true to yourself. One does not simply observe a statue, one encounters an idea, cast in bronze.
St. Mary's Church, the Luther Monument, the adjacent Red City Hall, Rotes Rathaus, and the Neptune Fountain together reflect the preserved historic architecture of this part of pre-war Berlin, despite the heavy bombings of World War II. The Neptune Fountain, Neptunbrunnen, located in the very heart of Berlin between St. Mary's Church and the Red City Hall, is considered one of the city's oldest and most beautiful fountains. Made of Swedish granite, the fountain's basin has a maximum diameter of 18 meters. The height of the central figure reaches up to 8.5 meters, and 10 meters to the tip of Neptune's trident. Above the basin, on a three-tiered pedestal, sits the striking figure of the ancient sea god Neptune. His symbol of dominion, the trident that calms the waves, rests on his left shoulder, while his right hand rests confidently on his hip. Neptune is carried on a massive seashell by 4 powerful mythological tritons, surrounded by joyful children playing in the water jets. The sculpted marine life, including lobsters, crabs, fish, and water-spouting turtles, seals, crocodiles, and serpents, evokes the raging, roaring sea. The fountain powerfully embodies the Baroque vision of nature's forces and divine authority, right in the historic center of Berlin.
At the edge of the fountain basin sit 4 female figures, each representing one of the major rivers of the former German Empire. The Rhine, holding a fishing net and a vine of grapes. The Vistula, Weichsel, with a log of wood. The Oder, accompanied by a goat and a fir. The Elbe, with ears of grain and fruit. The fountain owes its origin to Karl Friedrich Schinkel, who proposed erecting a monumental fountain on the Schlossplatz, in front of the city palace. The young sculptor Reinhold Begas, inspired by a journey to Italy, took up this idea. He created several drafts, and it was only his final version, the one that would later bring him international fame, that was accepted in 1888. For a time, the fountain even bore the name of its creator. The Berlin magistrate presented the fountain as a gift to Emperor Wilhelm II, and on November 1, 1891, it was inaugurated in a grand ceremony.
The Red City Hall, Rotes Rathaus, is living Berlin history, carved in stone. It takes its name from the material it was built with, red brick, a highly popular building material in the Brandenburg and Berlin region during the 19th century. Constructed between 1861 and 1869, the building was designed by architect Hermann Friedrich Waismann, who created a true architectural masterpiece that blends various styles. The building's overall form is reminiscent of Italian Renaissance palazzi, while the 74-meter-high tower, crowned with a clock and dome, clearly echoes the vertical lines and grandeur of Gothic cathedral architecture. One of its most striking features is the elaborate terracotta frieze running along the entire facade, depicting scenes from Berlin's rich history. Near the top of the tower, visitors will find 8 sandstone bears, each 3 meters tall, representations of Berlin's heraldic animal. These bears seem to guard the city hall, symbolically watching over and protecting the city.
The Red City Hall has witnessed many dramatic events in German history. Heavily damaged during World War II, it was carefully rebuilt in the post-war years. After the division of Berlin, the Red City Hall became the seat of the Magistrate of East Berlin, while the government of West Berlin operated from Rathaus Schönberg. During this time, the name Red City Hall also gained a figurative meaning, referencing the political system of the GDR. Following German reunification in 1991, the Rotes Rathaus once again became the administrative center of all Berlin. Today, it houses the Berlin Senate and the office of the governing mayor, making it not only a historic landmark, but also a functioning seat of political power in the German capital.
The Marx-Engels Forum is a small public park in the heart of Berlin, located near Alexanderplatz. Its central feature is a sculptural composition of Karl Marx seated and Friedrich Engels standing beside him, both cast in bronze by sculptor Ludwig Engelhardt. Following German reunification in the early 1990s, the monument became the subject of intense debate. Some called for its removal, but more than 60% of Berlin's population voted in favor of keeping it. To this day, the legacy and ideas of Marx and Engels continue to be studied, debated, and re-evaluated. Their theories had a profound influence on the development of political, economic, and social thought throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. While many aspects of Marxism still serve as tools for historical analysis and remain a source of emancipatory thought, especially in the context of labor rights and critiques of inequality, the experiences of the 20th century revealed significant limitations and misapplications of these ideas. The centrally planned economies inspired by Marxist doctrine often led to economic collapse. Some of Marxism's key predictions, such as the inevitable collapse of capitalism or the peaceful rise of proletarian rule, did not unfold as originally theorized. Moreover, the practical implementation of Marxist ideologies in several countries had tragic consequences. In many cases, the realization of these ideologies led to widespread repression and numerous human casualties. Over the course of the 20th century and into the 21st, countries such as North Korea, Russia, Belarus, and China established authoritarian or totalitarian regimes with political structures and justifications deeply rooted in Marxist-Leninist ideology. Today, the Marx-Engels Forum in Berlin is undergoing reconstruction, reflecting ongoing efforts to recontextualize and engage critically with its historical and ideological significance.
The Nikolaiviertel is a historic quarter in Berlin's Mitte-district, located on the eastern bank of the River Spree, just steps from the Red City Hall, Rotes Rathaus. It is considered one of the oldest settled areas within today's Berlin. This is where the city's history began. Around the year 1237, the settlement of Köln was first established on the site of what is now Museum Island. A few years later, around 1244, the settlement of Berlin was founded on the opposite bank, in the area now known as the Nikolaiviertel. These two towns, Berlin and Köln, initially existed as separate legal entities, each with its own town hall, church, and fortifications, yet they maintained close economic and social ties. In 1307, they formed a union with a joint council, and in 1432, they formally merged, from then on appearing as a single city, Berlin. The area's location along a major trade route between Eastern and Western Europe, as well as a ford across the Spree, provided strategic and economic advantages. The river, combined with the surrounding marshlands, also offered natural protection. The name Berlin is likely derived from the Slavic word burl or burlo, meaning swamp, a reference to the landscape at the time. The bear that appears in Berlin's coat of arms came later and likely has no direct connection to the city's name, yet it became a lasting and iconic symbol of Berlin.
St. Nicholas Church, founded around the year 1230, is considered older than Berlin itself. Originally built as a late Romanesque basilica, it is the oldest church in Berlin and gave the surrounding Nikolaiviertel its name. Although its current appearance is the result of a reconstruction following the destruction of World War II, the church retains immense historical significance. Over the centuries, it underwent numerous transformations. As early as 1264, it was converted into a Gothic hall church. Later, Baroque and Neo-Gothic elements were added. One of the most striking changes concerned its facade. Until the late 19th century, it was defined by an asymmetrical medieval structure with only a single slender tower. In the 1870s, this was replaced by the neo-Gothic twin towers seen today. The lower levels of the towers, constructed from fieldstone, are believed to be the oldest surviving interior spaces in Berlin, offering a rare glimpse into the city's early architecture.
St. Nicholas Church is no longer used as an active place of worship. Regular church services have not been held there since 1938. Instead, it now functions as a museum, providing insights into its own rich history as well as the lives of the historical figures associated with it. The Nikolaiviertel is a significant part of Berlin's cultural landscape. It offers visitors the opportunity to engage with the city's history, art, and architecture in a meaningful way. Thanks to its outstanding acoustics, the church is also regularly used as a concert venue, hosting organ recitals, chamber music, and classical performances. One of its towers houses a carillon of 41 bells, which sounds at regular intervals and adds to the distinctive charm of the site. The church is located in the charming and atmospheric Nikolaiviertel, the oldest part of Berlin. With its narrow lanes and historic buildings, the quarter offers a unique and intimate glimpse into the city's medieval origins.
The coat of arms fountain is located right at the entrance to St. Nicholas Church. It was constructed in 1987, based on a 1928 design by artist Gerhard Thiem. The fountain is made of sandstone and steel. 3 steps lead down to an octagonal basin with a diameter of 4 meters. On the sides of the basin are various coats of arms, referencing Berlin's long history and its symbolic significance. At the center of the fountain rises a 6-meter-high column, topped by a bear, the heraldic animal of Berlin, holding a shield adorned with an eagle, another historic symbol of the city. Located in Berlin's oldest quarter, the fountain was conceived as a monument to the city's founding, blending artistic expression with historical remembrance.
The Nicholas Quarter is a popular destination for leisurely walks and for discovering Berlin's rich history, a kind of open-air museum that brings the image of the city's destroyed old town back to life. Although much of the architecture is a reconstruction, the quarter allows visitors to feel the atmosphere of medieval Berlin. It is well known for its cobblestone alleys and artistically designed buildings in historic styles, reflecting the charm and character of Old Berlin. The area also features numerous traditional German restaurants, cafes, and pubs, where guests can enjoy classic Berlin specialties such as roasted pork knuckle, fried liver with onions, and local beer.
A large part of the historic architecture in the Nicholas Quarter was destroyed during World War II. However, in celebration of Berlin's 750th anniversary in 1987, the decision was made to restore the city's historic center. The Nicholas Quarter was largely reconstructed based on historical plans and drawings, aiming to recreate its pre-war appearance. Many buildings were newly built in the process. This careful reconstruction gives the quarter its unique appearance and creates a historic atmosphere, allowing visitors to experience a sense of Old Berlin despite the modern origins of much of its structure.
The Knoblauch House is one of the few buildings in the Nicholas Quarter that survived World War II without damage. Today, it houses a museum dedicated to the Biedermeier era and the Knoblauch family. Originally built around 1760 in the late Baroque style, the house received a more neoclassical appearance after renovations in the early 19th century. It served as the residence of a family that had immigrated from Hungary and, over several generations, became part of Berlin's industrious, affluent, and influential bourgeoisie.
The bronze sculpture of St. George slaying the dragon, created in 1853, now stands in the picturesque Nicholas Quarter on the banks of the River Spree. This outstanding work was crafted by the renowned Prussian sculptor August Kiss and embodies the neo-Baroque style in all its dramatic intensity. Rightly considered a jewel of the Berlin School of Sculpture, it remains one of its unsurpassed masterpieces, celebrated for both its dynamic composition and artistic craftsmanship.
Not far from the statue of St. George, also along the Spree Promenade, a magnificent red sandstone building catches the eye, the Elector's House, one of the oldest and most fascinating buildings in the Nicholas Quarter. Originally built during the Renaissance period, the building has a long and distinguished history. In the 17th century, it served as the residence of Elector Johann Sigismund, a member of the Hohenzollern dynasty, who unified Brandenburg and Prussia into a single state and became its first ruler. The building likely received its name, House of the Elector, in honor of him. In the 18th century, it was remodeled in the Baroque style, adding to its architectural richness and historical significance.
The current appearance of the Elector's House the result of a late 19th century renovation. At that time, the building was completely redesigned for Berlin merchant Gustav Ebel according to the plans of architect Karl Gauss. The facade facing the Spree was crafted in the style of the Neo-Renaissance, giving the building its elegant and historically inspired look. It is one of the few surviving commercial buildings from the late 19th century in this quarter. Today, the Elector's House houses offices for companies, foundations, and institutions. Despite its modern use, the building remains a living monument to Berlin's history, in its architecture, politics, and cultural heritage.
The Ephraim Palace is a remarkable example of Berlin Rococo architecture. In the 18th century, Wedel Heine Ephraim, court jeweler and financier to Frederick the Great, had a grand residence built at this site, adorned with cherubs, stone vases, and elaborately gilded balcony railings. The reconstructed Rococo Palace was once praised as the most beautiful corner of Berlin. Today, the building houses a museum, continuing its legacy as a cultural and architectural treasure in the heart of the city.
Across from the Nicholas Quarter, we see a square currently undergoing archaeological and construction work, the Mockenmarkt, the oldest square in Berlin. Rising above this historic area stands the monumental Old City Hall, a representative administrative building in Berlin's Mitte district. It was designed by city architect Ludwig Hoffmann and built in the early 20th century by the Berlin magistrate to relieve the workload of the Red City Hall. The building's representative purpose is especially evident in its approximately 80-meter-high tower, which rises from a square base above the central projection, risalet. The tower consists of two timbres surrounded by columns and is topped by a dome-like roof carrying a 3-meter-high copper statue of Fortuna, created by Ignatius Taschner. Architecturally, the tower references the French and German Dom towers at Gendarmenmarkt and symbolically expresses the idea that Berlin grows upward. Today, the Old City Hall continues to serve as a functioning administrative building.
The Parish Church is located in Berlin's Monastery quarter and is one of the oldest Protestant churches in the city. Its foundation stone was laid in 1695, marking it as the first church in Berlin built specifically for the Protestant community. The church was constructed in the Baroque style, featuring influences from Dutch and Italian architecture. During the bombing raids of World War II, both the tower and the church interior were completely destroyed. A gradual reconstruction has been underway since 1991. To this day, the interior remains largely unadorned, serving as a memorial to the devastation of war. Since 2016, the church once again features its tower, now restored along with its famous carillon, bell tower.
As you stroll through the historic center of Berlin, just a few minutes from the parish church you suddenly find yourself before majestic, mysterious ruins. These are the remains of the Franciscan Monastery Church, one of the oldest architectural monuments in the city and a rare testament to its medieval past. Built around 1250 by Franciscan monks, the church was part of a larger monastic complex and quickly became a spiritual center of Old Berlin. In the 14th century, it was remodeled into a Gothic basilica, featuring soaring vaults and colorful stained glass windows. Over time, especially after the Reformation in the 16th century, the monastery lost its religious function. The church was repurposed, serving as a school, assembly hall, and even as an exhibition space in the 19th century. However, World War II left its mark here as well. In 1945, the church was heavily damaged by bombing. Rather than restoring the building, the decision was made to preserve the ruins as a memorial, a quiet, contemplative monument to history and the passage of time.
From the ruins of the Franciscan monastery, it's only about a 10-minute walk back to Alexanderplatz Station, the starting point of our tour today. If you'd like to visit the Berlin Wall area before the day ends, you can hop on the S-Bahn at Alexanderplatz. The ride takes about 6 minutes to Warschauer Straße station. The following lines are suitable: S3, S5, S7, and S9. From there, it's just a short walk to the East Side Gallery, where the Berlin Wall becomes a canvas of freedom, memory, and art.
When you exit the Warschauer Straße S-Bahn station, you are in the Friedrichshain district. After the division of Berlin in 1945, Friedrichshain lay within the Soviet sector and became part of East Berlin. During this time, the Oberbaum Bridge served as a symbolic and heavily guarded gateway between East Berlin and the West Berlin district of Kreuzberg. A striking new addition to the skyline is the Edge East Side Tower Berlin, a 142-meter-tall skyscraper with distinctive architecture. Officially opened in March 2025, the tower functions primarily as a business center. In addition to its office spaces, the first 2 floors are open to the public and house restaurants, cafes, and event spaces. Out of the building's 33 floors, 28 are leased by Amazon, making it a major hub for the company's Berlin operations.
On the gentle waves of the Spree, nestled between Berlin's brickwork and the reflections of its layered history, stretches one of the city's most beautiful bridges, the Oberbaum Bridge. It looks as if it were taken straight from a fairy tale. Turrets like castle towers rise into the sky, and the brick masonry holds both the warmth of centuries past and the cold shadow of division. This bridge is a guardian of time, a silent witness to Berlin's transformations, its fracture, its rebirth, and its ultimate reunification. Once, in medieval times, a simple wooden barrier stood here, the original Baum, a checkpoint guarding access to the city. Centuries later, a stone giant grew in its place. In 1896, the neo-Gothic structure we see today was completed, based on the designs of architect Otto Stahn. Its two towers stand like sentinels, one watching over Kreuzberg, the other over Friedrichshain, forever marking the line where history once divided a city, and where now it flows freely.
During World War II, the Oberbaum Bridge suffered severe damage. On April 23, 1945, following a direct order from Adolf Hitler, parts of the bridge were blown up to slow the advance of Soviet troops. In the Cold War era, the bridge became a border crossing. Closed to most, silent and still, it stood as a symbol of division. It watched. It waited. But in 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell, the Oberbaum Bridge opened its arms once more, becoming a symbol of reunified Berlin. Following German reunification, the bridge underwent restoration, with the central section rebuilt based on a modern design by architect Santiago Calatrava. Since 1995, the bridge has been reopened to both car traffic and the U-Bahn, regaining its role as a connector between districts, between people, and between past and future.
The Molecule Man sculpture is one of Berlin's most striking and unconventional landmarks. It not only captures attention but also invites reflection on humanity, science, and connection. Three towering figures, nearly 30 meters high, rise as if from the waters of the Spree, engaged in an eternal, weightless dance. Their bodies are perforated with countless circular holes, giving them the appearance of being made of molecules or atoms. That is precisely what Molecule Man represents, a work by American artist Jonathan Borofsky, installed in Berlin in 1999. Borofsky infused his sculpture with a profound philosophical message: humanity is made of molecules, all interconnected. Despite our differences, we are part of a greater whole. The three figures symbolize encounter, interaction, and ultimately, unity, a powerful reminder, set in steel and sky, that what binds us is greater than what divides us.
From the Oberbaum Bridge to the Ostbahnhof, you'll find the longest remaining section of the Berlin Wall, the East Side Gallery, an open-air gallery along the banks of the Spree in the Friedrichshain-Kreuzberg district. The story of the Berlin Wall is one of the most tragic and dramatic chapters of the 20th century. After World War II, Germany was divided into four occupation zones: Soviet, American, British, and French. Although Berlin was located entirely within the Soviet zone, the city itself was also split into four sectors. By 1949, the Western zones had united to form the Federal Republic of Germany, FRG, a state with a market economy and a democratic government. In contrast, the Soviet zone became the German Democratic Republic, GDR, governed by a socialist regime closely aligned with the Soviet Union.
In the 1950s, hundreds of thousands of people from the GDR began fleeing to West Berlin, escaping political repression, restricted freedoms, and economic hardship. By 1961, approximately 3.5 million East Germans, nearly 20% of the GDR's population, had left the East and crossed into the West. This massive loss of labor and skilled workers was devastating for the GDR. In response, the government took a drastic step: the border was suddenly and secretly sealed. On the night of August 12 to 13, 1961, soldiers and construction workers began cordoning off East Berlin with barbed wire. Within just a few hours, streets were blocked, transportation routes were severed, and rail connections were cut. People quite literally woke up in a different world, suddenly trapped, with families, neighborhoods, and lives torn apart overnight.
Imagine this: someone spends the night at a friend's home, and never makes it back. A husband goes to work in the west, his wife remains in the east, and overnight, they are separated by a wall. Students, doctors, teachers, thousands of families were torn apart in a single moment. What did that mean for the people? Letters were censored. Phone calls were nearly impossible. Visits, forbidden. Escape attempts, life-threatening. Some tried to flee through underground tunnels, others across rooftops, or even by homemade hot air balloons, risking everything. Around 140 people lost their lives trying to cross the Berlin Wall. But the wall was more than just concrete and barbed wire. It became a symbol of sudden isolation, of shattered lives, of the sorrow of mothers and children, the separation of lovers. And yet, it also stands as a symbol of courage, of resistance, and ultimately of hope, which, in the end, prevailed.
Today, one of the longest remaining sections of the Berlin Wall has become a vibrant canvas, the East Side Gallery. Here, the concrete sings. It tells stories, it screams, it whispers, and it inspires. Stretching over 1.3 kilometers, the wall has been transformed into an open-air gallery, a powerful space where history and art meet. In 1990, more than 100 artists from around the world came to Berlin with a shared purpose: to turn pain into beauty, fear into color, and memory into art. Their works are not just murals, they are testimonies of hope, grief, defiance, and the unbreakable will to be free.
The legendary mural Brotherly Kiss is one of the most iconic images of the East Side Gallery. It depicts the famous socialist fraternal kiss between Leonid Brezhnev and Erich Honecker, captured in a dramatic and exaggerated embrace. Painted by Russian artist Dmitry Vrubel, the mural bears the satirical title, "My God, Help Me Survive This Deadly Love." This work is a masterpiece of political irony, a bold, hyper-realistic portrayal of an actual kiss that took place in 1979 during the 30th anniversary of the GDR. Vrubel's mural became a globally recognized symbol of the absurdity of ideological intimacy, and at the same time, a powerful artistic statement in the ongoing narrative of the Berlin Wall and its legacy.
Dozens of other works at the East Side Gallery are filled with meaning, humor, hope, and light. Many of these artworks have been restored and refreshed over the years to preserve their original impact and message. The East Side Gallery is a place where history becomes emotion. Where concrete weeps, laughs, and inspires. Where art speaks on behalf of millions. The wall no longer divides, it connects. And now, it's waiting for you.
About halfway along the Berlin Wall, you'll arrive at Uberplatz, a perfect spot to take a break and grab a bite to eat if you wish. At the heart of the square lies an illuminated fountain field, its colors constantly shifting in a mesmerizing display. The path through the fountain leads directly to the entrance of the striking, modern Uber Arena. Surrounding the square are around 20 restaurants, offering a wide range of international cuisine to suit every taste. In the immediate area, you'll also find a concert hall, a bowling center, a multiplex cinema, and 3 hotels, making this an ideal place to relax, explore, or end your day in style.
As you continue your walk to the end of the Berlin Wall, you'll arrive at Ostbahnhof. From here, you have the option to return to the city center, Alexanderplatz, by bus or S-Bahn. We thank you wholeheartedly for joining us on this journey through fascinating and surprising Berlin. We hope that the artworks and architectural masterpieces we explored together will enrich and inspire your life long after your visit. Goodbye, and until next time.